secret place where only the moon can see. Beyond the shores, there is something more, just waiting for you and me. I see that
Hi, this is Family for Fun Vlog, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please like and subscribe.
Hi everyone. Well, we're back. It's been quite a while since our last update, and we wanted to have something to say and let you know what we're doing. We kind of made some big advancements in the project, so we wanted to share that with you. And I just wanted to let you know that Aini and I both have so much to say, so sometimes we might jump in on top of each other and interrupt each other.
Exactly. So I am famous of interrupting him as always.
Interrupting is a strong word, honey. Let's just say you want to offer your ideas.
Anyway, I'm really sorry about that, guys.
Maybe we can have a flag, like green light, red light flag. Anyway. We just have a lot to say and a lot to share, but we're going to try to do our best to communicate with you. So yeah, this is October of 2024, and we want to let you know that we finally signed off on the first, I guess, I don't know if they're technically called this, but it's preliminary design. It's where they take your ideas and they put together the house and the outside, the exterior, kind of like parking, driveway, and some landscaping ideas. And we've kind of been in that phase for quite a long time. But we finally, good news, we finally signed off on that so they can start their very detailed design phase. So this detailed design phase, after you say, okay, this is basically what we want in terms of rooms and in terms of these other things, they have to have these engineering folks look at it, where they start looking at structural engineering. And I think it goes into that construction plans mode where they're doing architecture and construction drawings, where they have the structural stuff is documented in there, and the details, like I think plumbing and electrical are going to come along with that as well. All the detailed construction ones. So we've just finally signed off on these preliminary ones and sent them to the architect so that all these professionals can get involved. All right, so this was a very long process for us. We really thought it would be about a 2-month process because we had very clear ideas. And if you've watched any of the previous videos, we put together pictures from the internet, and we put together descriptions, like we want hallways, our preferred hallway size, for example, or preferred stairway size. We didn't want the architect to waste his time basically proposing things that would be not anywhere close to our requirements. So we said, preferred this, maybe minimum hallway width or stairway width, that, and all these kind of things. So we thought it would go pretty fast. And then at first it did, because the first couple of designs were pretty close.
It was, but then
as we progressed through it, we said, well, we try to look at all of the ways that we would be using the house and living in the house, and we would kind of give these feedback and adjustments and so forth. And plus, there's just things from the architect that from their artistic and professional perspective, they're going to say, oh, we're going to make you a pantry, like a huge room that just stores, I don't know, extra food and plates or something.
We don't even need.
And I was like, what are we going to fill this pantry? I mean, it's like a walk-in. It was like a small room, almost the same size as the kitchen. And so if you have a ton of stuff to store, I guess that would be, for some people it could be useful. But for us, it was like, we're not going to have enough things to fill up that pantry.
And plus, we'll be just staying over there for
a couple of months a year. So there's things that it's not just the fact that there's minimums or requirements that you have from what you want. There's also just things that he thinks or assumes that you want that may be in there. So anyway, we went round and around on that for longer than we thought. And then just to give you an idea of like our approach to this, is that our house here in the mainland, we are, we know what a comfortable room looks like. Like, what's a comfortable size of a living room? What's the comfortable size of a small bedroom, like a guest bedroom? And then the same for these other rooms. And then, as I mentioned, hallways and stairs and all that. And so whenever a design would come in, we would just compare it against here, because if you've ever had the experience of going into, especially, in places that don't have like a lot of like standards or something like that, they might make stairs like unusually small or unusually grandiose. Like, oh, here's this grand stairway, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go up to the bedrooms upstairs. Why do I have to have this like a, like a grand Cinderella ball staircase coming down? So you want to find what you like. You don't want to spend money for a grand staircase that you don't need, and you don't want to have something that feels cramped. So just to give you an example of what we're doing, and we thought it was really useful, is we would see the design, so we would lay out like string or lay out furniture, and we would walk around it and say, does this feel like enough space between this cabinet and the table or the chair? Is there enough space to pull out the chairs? One thing we did was, in our carport, we looked at the design, and I said, when we get out of the car, everybody in the family just swings their doors wide open, to get groceries out or to get luggage out or whatever. And when we looked at that in our garage, we went out and literally measured and put lines. We were like, man, how are you going to open the doors? It's going to be one of those
small.
If you ever parked in an urban area, you know what I'm talking about, where it's just too small. So you're kind of trying not to damage your car and trying to get your groceries out at the same time. So things like that, it's going to be, decades and decades of enjoying this house. And we really wanted to make sure that you're not designing in some issue that you'll be dealing with for the next 50 years.
Exactly.
So this is our process of doing it. Hopefully, that makes sense to you. For the exterior, where we have swimming pool and bigger things, we just took our hose, like a garden hose, and just laid it out and put some things out. So again, same thing. You feel like you can walk out into the design and say, okay, is there enough space here? Is there too much space here? Remember, every square meter that you're building, you're paying for. There's literally a number associated with that. And so if you add in a bunch of grandiose stuff that you're not going to use or enjoy, why are you paying extra money for them to pour concrete for this thing?
Exactly. It's the same with the hot tub. If we didn't check the hot tub, oh my gosh, it was like 30 times bigger than normal hot tub.
Yeah, and this is another good example. I think that, I don't know how this happened, but like the hot tub was unusually large. So all I did was, and this is all available on the web or ChatGPT, whatever you prefer, just say, okay, we would have like maybe maximum of 6 people in that hot tub, max. Maybe more like 4 to 6, right? So all I did was I would Google and say, what's the size dimensions of a hot tub that fits 6 people or something, and it gave a range of like 5 to 7 that we ended up going with this. Apparently, what is a large size?
We did 7. It goes 7 to 8.
Yeah. So again, you don't want to be unusually limited for the next 50 years. So we thought, okay, I'm going to really research this, and then maybe there would be an opportunity for 7 people to be in there, but you certainly don't want it bigger than that anyway. And then I took the square feet or whatever in the US here and then converted it to square meters. And I realized that the design of the hot tub, this jacuzzi, was out of control big. It's like another swimming pool.
Yeah, it's like a mini swimming pool, basically.
Right. So those kind of things, it's totally on you, because in spite of your architect being a professional, either you might have something that you want that they don't design all the time, or we've seen this even in our renovation in Hawaii, where it seemed obvious to me that you would say something like, I have a countertop, how high is the light above the countertop, right? Well, it's easy. I just Googled it and said, what's the typical height, and it's all over the web. It's like certain number of inches or centimeters, and there's a range, but it's within a certain thing. Well, the person who's doing a renovation in Hawaii, they didn't do that, I guess. They just set it wherever it felt about right, which it was totally out of the range that's typical. So I think that what we're doing is what's comfortable in a structure that you know well, like we know our house here, and then also what is the accepted standards that are published on the web, and you at least get within some kind of a reasonable range. It won't be like way off, and that's 100% on you, because the designs came back to us, and we're like walking around and saying, man, this looks huge. Do we need this thing? Do we even need this whole room? So it's really up to you. Make sure that you put in your due diligence, because I don't know how often you're building houses, but this may be the only time we're literally designing a house for your own needs. So it's time to be picky, because it's very unusual, right? For most of us, maybe we buy a house and renovate it, or just buy a house and live in it, new construction. But this is for your needs.
Exactly.
And so be picky. And that's why we dragged out. It felt like dragging out. I'm pretty sure the architect thought it was dragging out, because we would come back and he would have his design, and we would come back and we would measure everything all over again, in case in the last set of requirements we changed or updated, in case a wall moved and now made another space really cramped.
Yep.
You've kind of like now put yourself into trouble. Where originally the hallway was a good length, now you expanded the master bedroom, and now your hallway's really uncomfortably small. So remeasure. Putting the work in now will prevent you from these horror stories that we've heard about of people when they start pouring the concrete and they go like, man, this
There's surprises.
this hallway's too cramped.
Why is this too small, you know?
They're gonna get the hammers
we
out.
thought it was big according to the design, but yeah, make sure to remeasure it several times. I mean, I was really, really getting tired of measuring. I was like, come on, do we have to measure this again after several times of measuring?
Yeah, so it took us way more time than we thought, but because when you go from this, I guess it's called a preliminary design, where they just start sending you pictures, I mean, like a rendering of the property, and these floor plans, which are, you know, just a bunch of squares of the first and second floors or whatever. I felt like when you put your name and you sign your name, you don't want to do things in the next stage, because it kind of seemed like I don't know how it is working typically with architects. So I feel like whenever you're signing something, you should be like, this is it. This is perfect. There's nothing. But I don't want to kind of hurry up through the preliminary design and then work on things when you get to these more technical, detailed construction drawings. We felt like that wasn't the right approach. But we did feel some pressure to like, okay, let's just get through this preliminary to get to the next stage. But I'm not signing my name to anything that looks like, hey, why is this hallway so cramped or something like that? I can't open the doors of my car, you know? So it took us 5 months to do that. So plan that into it could take you a longer time. And remember, do not rush, because if it ends up in a drawing, these contractors, you know, when you start construction phase, we're just going to pull out them drawings and follow exactly what's on there.
Yeah.
And so if something's wrong.
Exactly. And so, yeah, we thought it's going to be like really, really easy, and it's going to take us like only 2 or 3 months, but no, we were wrong.
And we even did our homework. We grabbed all these pictures from the web. Oh, we want it to look something like this. And these are our requirements. We actually did that. The first thing we sent to the architect was a 25-page detailed document about requirements. So you would think it would be like really in there the first time and not many changes. But even with that step, and then I don't know what would happen if you just went and just talked with the architect for 2 hours. I don't think that it's going to drag out. You might as well just spend time by yourself with the people who will live there and do all these requirements ahead of time. Because if you're just sitting there chit-chatting for hours at a time with the architect, I think that would be even more difficult than our 5-month process.
Yep. So yeah, after a detailed drawing, and then we did our relocation survey.
Yeah, when we signed off on those ones, they have to start going to this next phase. And that involves getting an idea of the soil and all that, right?
Yeah. So we did that like last week, and so far the topography didn't have any errors, but then except the relocation survey, there's more like, oh, we have to put new landmark. I think what do you call that? I think they call it in Philippines, it's mohon, I think. Yeah. So
it's like a piece of
the
concrete
circle,
that marks the end of the territory.
Yes, exactly. And then now we found out that we over putting like the fence, like it's just a temporary fence. So we put fence in our lot right now, so people know that where it's end of our landmark and all of that stuff. But it was wrong. The first, when we bought the land, it was, we thought that was the real landmark where it goes and where it ends.
Yeah.
But actually it wasn't the right one. So now that we did the relocation survey, we looks like we have extra land for according to the new relocation survey right now. And then so they're putting a new land circle mark for that for all both sides. And they did the soil test, which is we are going to get the result within a week, I think. That's what the architect said. And also, we paid for each hole of the soil test. It's about 35,000 pesos. I don't know if you guys getting cheaper than that, but that's what the architect told us. And then he inquired for some other company for that price, but it seems pretty expensive to us.
Yeah.
We thought it was only 25,000 pesos, but no, it was 35,000 pesos per hole. But we did 2 holes, and the relocation survey, we get like 15,000 pesos for that with discount. And also the topography, we paid 22,000 pesos with the discount, which is good. And we saved some money for that. I think, right?
Yeah, and these professional services, if you know the Philippines, or you know traveling outside of the U.S. or Canada or Europe, you would think like, oh, this stuff's going to be super cheap, but it's actually, as you can tell by the expense, you're using your budget. But the reason that we're just following the architects and the engineers on this is because when you're working, in these areas like the Philippines or in Latin America or something like that, you have the option of just totally winging it and not doing anything professional.
Exactly.
I think that happens all the time. The people
especially in Philippines.
Yeah. So when that happens, you have to decide, again, looking at decades down the road, right? If your house starts listing a little bit or something, it starts sinking or something, it's only going to be you to blame. And you're like, oh, I wanted to save like $1,000 US or $1,200 US, and that's why I didn't have the proper soil tests done. We think this is an investment that's got to last for a long time. In any way, the majority of the expense is going to be building the structure on something, so you might as well make sure that the something that you're building on is a solid ground.
Exactly.
So we're just going the professional way in spite of the alternatives being like a informal, off the books kind of approach to save $1,000, and then you spend hundreds of thousands on the construction.
Yeah, so especially when you have a third floors, you need the soil test.
Yeah, we have basically a rooftop deck. So our design is like a ground floor, second floor, and we thought, okay, the roof is flat, why not just put a deck up there? But then because we're going to get solar, because we need to have a water tank for the gravity feed, it started to get to be like a half a third floor up there.
Exactly.
When you're doing that kind of thing, there's thank goodness there's some kind of requirements in the Philippines where they require you to have multiple soil tests, not just a single one for if you have a lighter or smaller structure. So again, we're just following the more strict way of doing things in spite of the added expense, just to have some kind of confidence in the long-term permanence of the structure.
Yeah, and also our land, it's not like just a flat. Our land, it's like sloping terrain. Yeah, sloping terrain. So we really need to get that done for the soil test.
Yeah.
And
what else? Oh, yeah. So the cost, and then the size of the house will dictate what you need. And then another thing was that when we were first talking with our architecture team, they were saying, oh, when you sign off on the original preliminary designs, we're going to take it away for about a month, and then we'll come back again when you'll sign off on those detailed designs with a detailed cost estimate. Well, this detailed one, maybe partially because there's testing that needs to be done, but also just because of the workload of the architecture team, it's taking maybe more like 2 months.
Yes.
So don't I mean, I respect that people try to give you an estimate. You don't want to hold them to it. But again, it's kind of lengthening out the process a little bit more than we thought. We went from 2 months for the preliminary design and 1 month for this detailed thing to 5 months for the preliminary design and 2 months for this one. So everything's dragging out. How that happens in projects.
And we were hoping to get our, to apply our building permit soon so we can start our, construction like maybe November or December. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not sure, but I'm just hoping it will. If it's not, we will start in January. It depends on our, building permit approval.
Right. Yep. And then the more variables you have, like I'm going to give it to this super efficient building department in the Philippines, and they'll probably turn that thing around in a couple of days.
Yeah, especially
probably
when it's
not.
Yeah, especially when it's Christmas coming. So
it's the eggnog is flowing.
People are more relaxing and not reviewing your application of your building permit.
Right.
So it will probably take 2 months or so. So we're not even expecting like sooner than we thought, but just wait.
Yeah, and then we're just the thing we're doing is we're saying, look, as long as we're not sitting on our responsibility, so if we're not addressing, like if we keep pushing off our task of confirming the measurements as we were mentioning before, if you're staying on top of that in spite of how tired you are after work to come home and do measuring for 2 hours, then you should move as fast as you can on your tasks and be confident in those things. And then if it's some building department, I mean, there are some things you can do in the Philippines to kind of rush things along, kind of keep the wheels greased over there. If you know somebody in the department or something like that, you can kind of move things along faster. But really, that's more out of your control than your own thing of like, hey, we got to review these designs. Does this look like what we want? And if it isn't, we got to propose to that architect what we really want. Stay on top of your tasks, and then it's going to be as fast as it can possibly be, even if it's off your kind of proposed time frame.
Yeah, especially we want to do it right.
So what are we doing now, honey? Well, we're waiting around. We're just sitting around having daiquiris.
We're just waiting for our detailed design from engineering, and then hopefully, we will review it after, I think, this coming 3rd week of October. And we're waiting to get that, all of it. And then we will review it, and if it looks good, and then it's good to go for building permit application.
Yeah, and that's the real one. That's the real, as I mentioned, the construction drawings. A lot of times these subcontractors, they just give them this is my understanding of it, they just give them the electrical design. They go, hey, go put this in. So if it's on there, that's what's going in.
Exactly.
And so you want to catch it, that's signing off on the detailed construction plans. I think that's a very much more serious thing.
Make sure everything is right. Anyways, so our video is getting longer now.
Wait, I want to tell them about studying.
Okay.
Our video is going long, so stick with us. It's worth it. So
it's almost done.
So we're not sitting around having margaritas. We are studying about construction drawings. So if you've ever seen blueprints, it can be a little bit confusing. They have a lot of their own symbols. Each architect apparently has their own symbols for things like electrical, and then there's plumbing design. And the reason why this is very important to us is because we stayed a lot in Airbnbs in the Philippines. And one of the things that we noticed was a large majority of them have issues that I wouldn't accept in my house. So for example, if there's like water heaters, like shower water heaters in the shower, right? So it's near a wet area, and they have like a 2-prong plug. And if you know anything about electricity, that just means there's no, ground faults interrupt. There's not like a safety device in your shower with an electrical device heating your water in your shower, but it's got a 2-prong system. This is like a major violation of every code, I think, on the planet. So that was in somebody's design in that Airbnb, and they accepted that, and then they're cool with it. But I wouldn't be cool with it in my design. And I just know a little bit about electrical stuff. On the same side, or on a similar side, we have the plumbing, where we've been in Airbnbs that are fairly expensive Airbnbs. I think they're close to like $300 a night Airbnbs.
Yes.
So that's a lot of money in the Philippines. And then sometimes the you can get like a bad smell out of the plumbing, right? And we thought, wow, there's a shockingly number of like broken sewer pipes underneath the structure.
Smells really
of this house.
bad.
But in studying now about on YouTube about this plumbing code, there's these venting system that can prevent, if the venting of your sewer pipes and your drainage pipes is proper, that could be a wrong venting problem that we were smelling in these Airbnbs. And these expensive Airbnbs had this problem, these pretty grandiose houses, really even bigger than the one we're building.
Yeah.
So they're like mansions and they have this like problem with the smell. So I said, another unacceptable thing, if we're building our house, then you're like, hey, let's move in. What's that funny smell, right? So right now what we're doing is just watching YouTube videos, basically plumbing design YouTube videos. You know, it can get too technical, but you know, just getting the overview, which I understand now about this venting issue I mentioned. I just discovered that by watching these YouTube videos. And the same thing with electrical. How is a typical electrical design? What are the lighting? You know, if they have to put lighting in the ceilings for these like recessed lighting or something, where's the switch go for that? Is there one switch, or is there you're gonna divide it up? All these things I'm sure are gonna come from the architect's professional guidance, but it doesn't mean that's what you want. Maybe you want when you go into the kitchen to turn on like some smaller lights, not just like if you know those like recessed lighting. It's like a big party in the kitchen. So, you know, how do you want it to work? And so we're just watching YouTube videos, basically, not like studiously taking notes, but at least you'll start to gain that understanding of what does an electrical plan for construction plans look like? What does a plumbing design look like? What are the typical things that are in a plumbing design? So that when we get our plans back at the end of this month, I'm going to be able to look at it right away and say, okay, so where is the venting on this thing? At least you get some kind of an idea. Otherwise, you're just at the mercy of whatever professionalism the plumber contractor drew in there. So yeah, all this stuff we're doing now, drainage, just watch your videos because as we discovered with our Hawaii renovation, they are not perfect. And if they make a mistake, now you have to live with it forever and ever. Or just like jackhammer the thing out, which is bad. So study during this time. You have 2 months, so chill out. You can even have a margarita and study at the same time, probably.
Oh, well, we should probably end our video here now. It's getting longer.
Yes.
And so probably at the end of our design, like everything when it's like ready for construction, we will show you our house design, what it looks like, and what the whole entire house size of our house and the outdoor area and all of that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, so far, our next update of our video will be probably by the time when we have application or done with application
maybe
with our building permits.
Maybe we'll show them the detailed construction drawings that we get.
Yes, if we get
blueprints and construction
if we
drawings.
get one.
I'm sure we're gonna get one. We're paying for it. I want my construction drawings.
And we will let you know how much we pay for the architect for the whole entire thing. So stick with us for the whole journey of our building of our house.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Palawan.
along with us.
Thank you so
journey.
much. Bye, and thanks for watching.